The year was 1982, and that is the year Creepshow was released, followed not too long after in 1987 by Creepshow 2. At the time, there was a desire to make a third Creepshow movie, but it didn't pan out. But soon, in the year 1990, came Tales from the Darkside the Movie. And this one, many consider it to be the third Creepshow movie. Some of the crew who worked on the other movies do consider it to be the third Creepshow movie, and we're going to treat it that way today. Hey, I'm Dave Watkins, and today we are going to rank all of the short segments. These are anthology movies with short horror segments in them, and we are going to rank them all. Another note: there was an actual movie named Creepshow 3 that came out in 2006, but it didn't have involvement of any of the original filmmakers, so we're not going to rank that. And plus, it came out a lot later. These were 80s, beginning of the 90s. But first, let's take a look at these releases. Creepshow. This is a new 4K recently put out by Scream Factory. It has a new 4K scan from the original camera negative. I haven't seen it yet, but there's supposed to be an uptick in quality compared to their Blu-ray. Now, they had a friggin' awesome Blu-ray release. I have watched this one, and it looks fantastic. This other one, the 4K one, is a bit of an uptake. Now, this was taken from the same scan, so it's really the 4K scan on a Blu-ray disc. But what I really love about this is this slip box, and it has a booklet in it. Let's take a look at this booklet, if I can get it out. So it does have a booklet in it, and here's the disc with a kind of a comic book looking cover, which is pretty neat. And inside of the book, it's got a bunch of pictures. It's even there's the original Tales from the Crypt, the British one. And there's another movie by George Romero, Night Riders, with Ed Harris. Then it has some pictures from the actual shorts and so forth. It's a pretty neat booklet. I like it when it comes with these booklets. It makes it more collectible. The original Creepshow was directed by George Romero, and it's the only one of these three that has this comic book style. When something crazy happens, like a monster pops out or something, sometimes the background turns into looking like an old comic book strip, and then some weird like red lighting or other types of color lighting pops up, and it might even have a comic book little blurb on the bottom. So this may be off-putting to some if they're not ready for it. I think it's a cool effect. Creepshow 2. This is an Arrow Video release. Now, Arrow Video does fantastic work. I've seen some of their other movies. I've got a bunch of them, but just their scans, and a lot of times in their special features and things of that nature are really impressive. And this one boasts a brand new 2K restoration from original film elements. So when I watched this, it does look a little like, as far as the transfer, looks like it could use a little love. It still looks pretty good. It is a 2K upgrade, but it does look like it could use a little help. And maybe one day they'll do a 4K version of it. But this is as far as I know the most recent release that has the best quality of the movie. Tales from the Darkside the Movie. Now, this one is another one recently released by Scream Factory, another 4K upgrade from the original camera negative. Now, a few years before, they kind of popped this 4K out of nowhere. They did release this friggin' look at this cover here. I love this artwork for this movie. You've got like the gargoyle monster and the mummy and the cat all here, but this one doesn't have a 4K transfer. It's a Blu-ray disc. But it doesn't have the 4K transfer from the negative onto the Blu-ray. It's just a Blu-ray upscaled, so the quality is not as good. But I do really love this artwork on the cover. But let's take a look at these shorts or the short segments in each film and rate them. Now, this is a situation where I really like all of the shorts, and it is hard to rate them. So this could be a situation where I might like have a different point of view on which one should be rated in which order. But before rating any of the actual segments, I will say the wraparound segments, which I'm not going to include as a segment, are the worst parts. And I'm going to rank all three of them first. The worst wraparound is Creepshow 2. In Creepshow 2, I'm not sure what happened here, but it seemed like maybe they didn't have the budget to shoot something, or maybe they just wanted to do it this way. But it's animated, and to me, that part's not written very well, and it kind of, when you see those scenes in the movie, I don't particularly like them, and that's really the only segment of any of these that I don't like. The mid one would be the segment from Tales from the Darkside the Movie. So what happens here? There is a kid who is been a witch has kidnapped him. She has him inside of a cell, and she's going to cook him. And in order to distract her, he starts reading these stories to her, and that's how it goes into the stories, which is a kind of cool idea. But at the end, it kind of ends kind of cheesy like, and it kind of messes up the very end of this movie. But it is what it is. And then best wraparound is from Creepshow, where this little kid who's got a shitty, I think it's his dad or his stepdad, played by Tom Atkins. Now he comes in and he doesn't like him reading his comic book, so he acts like an asshole to him and yells at him, and then it goes into the stories, and then it comes back out at the end, and then there's some comeuppance. So that's the best wraparound of these movies. So let's get into the actual stories. Now, one of these have to be the last one, and I probably shouldn't have put this one there, but it is what it is. And what we're looking at is Thanks for the Ride, Lady, also known as The Hitchhiker. Now, this is in Creepshow 2, and it's about a lady who's having an affair on her husband, and she is driving home and runs into this hitchhiker on the side of the road and kills him, and then he somehow comes back to life and keeps coming after her. He opens the door and he's like, "Thanks for the ride, lady," like repeatedly. So this one, it kind of drags out. It's so awesome that he says, "Thanks for the ride, lady," like a lot, because every time he says it, it's like, that's awesome. And it's a very quotable. It's a very quotable short because he goes, "Thanks for the ride, lady," like a bunch of times. But other than that, it is repetitive. It kind of goes on for a while. But if you think about this scenario, though, it is pretty scary. This guy opening the car door and coming after you over and over again, and it eventually escalates into something much more. I still like it. I hate it that I had to put it last, but something had to be last, and it wasn't this one. Number 10 is Father's Day. This is from the original Creepshow, and it is the very first segment of the movie after the wraparound or the prelude with Tom Atkins in it. On this one, it is about a bunch of heirs to a fortune. The dad has died, and they've all come together to be shitheads and get his money. But it doesn't work out that way because he comes back to life and kills them all. This one has a young Ed Harris in it. He's not one of the main characters, but he's one of the characters who are there. He's there with his girlfriend, so he's not one of the shitheads, but he is kind of shitty, and he's the first one that gets killed. He gets a tombstone dropped on his head. Now, I do like this one. I like all of them, so it's hard putting it so low on the list, but something had to be there. And I like the next one as well. It is Lot 249. Now, this is one of the only two that was not based on a story or written by Stephen King. And this one was in Tales from the Darkside the Movie. Now, this one was based on a story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who is known for writing Sherlock Holmes. But he wrote this story before that, and it is a horror short story called Lot 249 about a mummy. Lot 249 is a mummy that is shipped to a college. The main character here is played by Steve Buscemi, and that's the way he likes to have his name pronounced. Most people pronounce it Steve Buscemi, and that's the correct way to say it in Italian. But he likes to be called Steve Buscemi, which is kind of weird sounding to me. But this character is friends with a character played by Christian Slater, but Christian Slater's sister and another guy have cheated Steve Buscemi's character out of a scholarship. They stole his work, and so he discovers that he can reanimate this mummy, and he sends it after them to get revenge on it for stealing his work. I do like the story. It's got a mummy in it. I think that some people don't like the mummy. I like the mummy. I think that this one is a little shorter. It seems like it could have been maybe more developed, because it really becomes just a revenge stalking thing after a while. But number 8, Something to Tide You Over. Now this one has Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson in it. Now when I first saw this, I knew them as comedic actors. Ted Danson from Cheers and Leslie Nielsen from Airplane and the Naked Gun. But this was actually shot right before Ted Danson started Cheers, and he was doing more dramatic roles before that. And Leslie Nielsen, same difference. He had just done Airplane a few years before that, and he hadn't really started to do like the Naked Gun. His later career was all, for the most part, all comedy stuff, but he was still considered more of a serious actor at this point. So in the short, Ted Danson's character has been having an affair with Leslie Nielsen's wife. Leslie Nielsen shows up at his house with a gun and makes him come with him to the beach, where he buries him. It makes him get in the sand, and he buries him up to his neck. And then he brings a TV out, and he shows Ted Danson's character that he has his wife also buried in the sand further down the beach. Once the tide comes in, he's watching the TV, and he can see that the tide comes in and the wife drowns, and eventually drowns him. And a similar ending to Lot 249, where at the end the two killed characters show up to come after Leslie Nielsen's character. And so at number 7, Old Chief Woodenhead. This is about a cigar store Indian for this shop run by George Kennedy's character. George Kennedy was also in the Naked Gun movie. So you got Leslie Nielsen in Creepshow 1, George Kennedy in Creepshow 2. So him and his wife run this store where these hoodlums show up, and they come there to rob them, and they eventually accidentally kill them, which causes Chief Woodenhead to come to life. And then he goes after the hoodlums one at a time and stalks them and kills them. And he looks very cool, and the way that he looks is very scary looking. This one, there's not a lot. There's a lot of exposition in this one, which gives George Kennedy something to do for most of the running time until after they're killed. Because after that, it's all this Chief Woodenhead stalking these guys and killing them, which doesn't take too long to do, maybe 10 minutes. Most of the rest is George Kennedy and the store. It was good performances. Number 6 is The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Jordy Verrill is played by Stephen King, and he plays he plays a farmer who's not very smart. He's kind of a slow guy, and Stephen King does a very good job playing this very sympathetic character. And this one leans more towards comedy in some areas, but it has a very tragic end. And there's a meteorite that lands in the guy's yard, and he gets the meteorite, and he was going to try to sell it, but the meteorite begins to make this kind of grass-looking stuff grow everywhere, including he gets it on his hands, and he becomes infested with grass all over him. And again, it has a very tragic end. And I do like what Stephen King did here with this character. Number 5, The Cat from Hell. Now this is one from Tales from the Darkside the Movie, and it's the only one of the 3 from that movie that Stephen King wrote. It was based on his story. So this one's about an older guy in a wheelchair, played by William Hickey, who hires a hitman played by David Johansen to kill this cat that he keeps trying to kill himself, and the cat keeps coming back to life. And it doesn't go well for everyone involved. And so number 4, this is from Tales from the Darkside the Movie, Lover's Vow. This is based on a Japanese ghost story. It's the only other one not based on a story by Stephen King. And it stars James Remar as a man who he encounters a gargoyle creature in this alley. The gargoyle creature kills his friend, rips his friend's head off, and then he makes James Remar's character swear to never tell anybody about what happened. And then he swears not to do it. She said she'll let him go if he does. So the next day he meets this beautiful woman. It's like a magic pixie girl type of character who turns his whole life around, and it's just the love of his life, and his life becomes fantastic because of their relationship. And years later, after they have a daughter and everything, he confides in her what happened that night in the alley, and it turns out that she is the gargoyle creature. And once he tells her what happened, she turns back into the gargoyle. So it's a really and it has a really cool ending. This one is a slower going in some instances and some parts of it, but I do like the overall story. The gargoyle looks really, really cool. Coming in at number 3 from Creepshow 2, The Raft. So this one is the one that has the kind of blob creature in the lake. These teenagers are not supposed to be there. It's like no trespassing. There's shit here. You're not supposed to be here. So they park and they swim out to this dock in the middle of the lake, and then this black blob-looking thing swims up, and so it turns out that it's just to kill them. It absorbs them just like the blob does, and then they have to wait it out or try to wait it out, and then. But I do like this one. This one stands out. I think a lot of people remember this one, and they probably think about this every time they go to a lake and get on a dock, that there could be some black blob substance out in the lake. Number 2. Now this is the cockroach one from the first Creepshow, and this one stars E.G. Marshall as a real asshole character who lives in this high-rise penthouse type of apartment that everything in the place is completely white, and he starts to have problems with cockroaches showing up. Like a few at first, and then it becomes an infestation as it gets further into it, and to the point he's fighting for his life against these cockroaches. This one might make some people squirm, and they might not be able to watch it because of how nasty the cockroach aspect of it is. I do like it that it's all white, and E.G. Marshall's Scrooge-like performance is really fantastic here. Now, number 1, and I think we all know what's coming here. It's from Creepshow 1. It is the crate that houses this creature here that is known as Fluffy. It's never said in the movie, but everybody knows his name's Fluffy. And so the janitor, and then in the short finds this crate under the stairs at this university. It's been locked there for a long time. He gets a professor to come check it out, and then when they open it, this creature's in there and he eats the janitor. The professor goes to find his friend, played by Hal Holbrook, to get him to help him. Now, Hal Holbrook's character has a really obnoxious, shitty wife named Billy, played by Adrienne Barbeau. Now, she likes to belittle him, and she's rude to everybody around, and she makes an ass out of herself constantly, and she's made his life a living hell. And but so when he goes back and finds out what exactly the crate is, he ends up using it as a way to. He lures her back there, and then gets the monster to eat her, and then he takes the crate and throws it in the ocean. So that's my pick for the number 1. Let me know what your pick is, and let me know even if you want to just tell me the whole list, how you would rate it, and if you want to hit like on the video, again, thanks for watching, and there's also a subscribe button.